Hello, hi guys, your favorite white guy here, Lesela, and today I've got a couple of awesome entrepreneurs. On the far right side, Tania, I've known her for quite some time. Haven't seen her in a long time though. She's been keeping busy doing Twitter Makatang. And then today she's with her partner and business partner as well, Max. And Kupali introducing me and the fellow little not to really time. The guy, how long started?
Okay. Max is actually my nickname. That's what everybody calls me.
Oh, I know.
My government
Okay.
Lesotho. And so you'll see in a lot of the stuff that we do. We do clothes, by the way. The label is called Lesela, which in Lesotho means fabric, cloth. Yeah. But also colloquially it means, you know, to say so that's the name of the brand.
Sure.
Maybe give a bit of your background before we carry on into the...
So my name is Tania. I'm a Xhosa girl born in Angola. And we started Lesela like on a crazy day. Actually, we went to a wedding. What would ordinarily be known as like a white wedding. And he loves to dress in like traditional attire and like creates his own design for every wedding. So he was like, let's go out of the ordinary and, you know, we come in our traditional attire to this wedding. And that's what we did. And he got a lot of props for the outfit that he had designed. And after a while, I think it was like 5 or 6 people that approached him, and I like nudged him, dude, stop giving out the number. Like, this is a business. What you should be doing is telling them that, okay, this is what we're gonna go into or something.
Okay.
And that's how it was born, really.
Pretty awesome. Okay. What are some of the influences of entrepreneurship that motivated this kind of journey for either both of you?
Well, I grew up in an entrepreneurial home.
Okay.
My dad is an entrepreneur and he's always had businesses of his own.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, what I was modeling, the idea of going into corporate and being a part of the cog in somebody's big wheel. It was now what appealed to me. I always wanted to be an owner like my dad.
Sure.
So that's a big part of it.
Destiny's Child, independent woman.
I know.
All I really wanted was just to be like, that black golden child who just does well, man. Like, it really, like, I've always been employed. Like, I've been employed since I was 18, so it's not something I can't do. I can definitely go into employment, but the space of being able to work for yourself, make your own money, that's different, to make a difference. Like, that appeals to me.
That's awesome. I like that stories start already too. The importance of the right kind of exposure growing up. You spoke about, obviously, your father being an exposure for you with regards to business. Any other exposures that could have like really shaped you into the entrepreneur that you want to be?
I guess it's the company you keep. Let's start at the beginning. Sometimes you get these schools that are very, very expensive. Like how for whatever a month. And it's like at first I used to think there's no way that whatever they're teaching there can be that much superior. What I didn't realize until later is that what you're actually paying for is like who you're also gonna be there at school.
Connection.
Like affluent business people's kids, like ministers' children, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that exposure. And
that circle of friends.
You know what I mean? So later on in life, when we're now saying, hey, I'm trying to do this, you've got like strong networks like you guys go way back.
Sure.
Yeah. But even if you didn't start off with that sort of advantage of being in like
fancy schools,
books are a great equalizer. you know, what is it cost? They're like a library card.
And this day and age, it's not even necessary for you to go to the library. You can have the big wide web and do your thing.
So it's like it's the exposure. If you want it, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But like a wise man once said, finding is reserved for the seekers. You know what I mean? So if you're intentionally looking to get close to people that are doing what you're trying to do, it's possible. But I think that plays a big part. Like that whole thing of like your net worth. It goes to your net worth. I believe in that strongly and I subscribe to that. So we've tried to be of late very vigilant of that, intentional about like, okay,
Who we keep around
who we keep around us, what are they talking about, what are they trying to go, what are they trying to do. You know?
The name of the show is Wealth Connections for that reason. The connections to wealth. Your connections to wealth. It's your network.
Precisely.
That's brilliant. I actually wondered why it was called Wealth Connections.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. When Tanya, what some of your exposures that really maybe led you to entrepreneurship or gave you a little window into entrepreneurship?
So I think my story is a little different to Max's story because we didn't have the luxury of like going to like these great schools and stuff, so getting the exposure there. But I grew up in a family with 7 children. So what my parents weren't able to provide, we always started like businesses. We started, in high school we said we had side hustles.
Yeah.
So my sisters had like a mini salon and we sold like chips and everything that you could find. So one of us in the house was selling whatever somebody on the outside needed. So we always found ways to make money that way. So I think it's exactly what he says, is the company that you keep, like you always have to keep people around you that want, to get to a certain level that you're trying to get to. And people that talk about the right things. Wealth Connections in itself is like, it's a good line. Speak to people who want to be wealthy. Don't waste your time on people who don't want to grow.
I love that. Look, mentors, role models that impacted your entrepreneur journey and by feeling in a significant manner.
Okay, so funny enough, you should ask the role model or the mentor thing, because this year we've particularly made a point to lean into mentors. Because so we didn't study fashion. Okay, I don't know. So we're kind of learning on the job.
Hey man, most of us don't. I didn't study photography or production. I'm learning on the job as well.
Yeah. So the idea with mentorship is like, dude, you can find out the hard way, or I could find out from somebody who is already doing what I'm trying to do, and it will save me a lot of what we call school fees.
Yes.
Yeah. Those expensive mistakes that you make that you won't be obvious at the door, but you're finding out as you're going. It's like, look, so there's a guy called Marake right now. He's like holding us by the hand and he's showing us the ropes.
Yeah.
There's the lady we were speaking about, Susan Lowe. She also got us gave us a lot of guidance, and at the risk of sounding like a daddy's boy, my dad was like, we run a lot of things past him.
Sure.
Because we think primarily we're creatives, but he's like a bottom lines guy, so things have to make sense financially.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we always tell him whatever plans or steps we're planning next, and he'll help us refine. But we definitely believe in mentorship because you learn and save a lot.
If you've got someone who's walked the
path, and who better to learn from than someone imagine I'm trying to be a soccer player and I'm telling my non-soccer player friends that I want to be. First of all, I'm telling them, who are you to do this? But with if I ask an actual soccer player, it's like, well, here are the facts, buddy.
And here's what you can do to get into this
Yeah,
position.
you know what I mean? So
Practically.
Practically. So I think the idea of mentorship is one that should actually be promoted a lot. A lot. Because this thing of like, you know what, I don't like the phrase self-made.
It makes no sense because there is no single person who is self-made.
Yeah.
Everyone who claims they are, they must have gotten a hand
From
someone.
Yeah.
Through that course.
Yes.
So all that self-made talk, it's nonsense. Like, it's about collaboration, it's about being teachable, it's about networking, and sorry, I got a little bit long-winded there.
No, it's alright. Look, my show does not have a time limit. My show just goes on until we get the wealth of knowledge out of you.
Yeah.
Then it's not done, and we're getting quite valuable knowledge.
Yeah.
And Tanya mentioned the fact that orata collaboration. Our first guest mentioned something that like will always stick with me. I'll take it far. Collaborating to compete is the way. Tanya was saying, just like we've seen Indian families, Jewish families,
Yes.
Jewish people, and Indian people, other cultures do it. Even African people, Ethiopians come to South Africa and they unite.
They collaborate.
And there's a lot of power in that.
Indeed.
There's a lot of power in that.
And I mean, you can now buy in bulk. You have more
I was
power.
you stole the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because I was going to talk about that whole thing where I said it, and I'm going to say it again. I said it in the previous interview, but I said it again. What this apartheid thing, right? I feel like that card is played cheaply a lot of times. But like, one of the things I think it has done, it has taught us to see the visions in ourselves.
So much.
You know what I
So
mean? So
that's-
we can't all be black. We're not makosa.
We spot the differences, way before we stop the likenesses.
Yes.
So that example that you gave, which ultimately, you know, we had those what do you call it? These uprisings where they were burning and fighting foreigners.
Yes, xenophobic, yeah.
Xenophobic stuff. When I started to look into it, that's one of the things where it's like, look, the reason they're finding it hard to compete with the foreigners, the Ethiopian guys down the shop, is because they do that thing where they buy in bulk.
And we are not united enough.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go buy my 6-pack solo. They buying like
a whole crate. Yeah.
Yeah. So how am I gonna compete with that guy like price wise? I can't. And instead of like learning from that, we get mad. We fight. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things. It's very nuanced. It's poverty mentality, like crabs in a bucket thing. Like the idea that we could all win is foreign to some people.
It's foreign. Like it's so crazy that people would rather come together to put money to buy alcohol, to have monate, but we'll never come together to get the businesses right.
It's funny. I was having a conversation about that with a friend the other day. Like, you know, our capacity to get organized when it's womenat. Okay, we're not like that. Then
very efficient.
Very efficient.
And very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah.
So there's evidence there that we are capable of these things.
Indeed.
But perhaps we need to focus it on the right thing.
Yes, and also look at and I'm not our fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Losing is such a big part of the winning game. How do you deal with the losses, and what kind of losses have taught you lessons that will go for you through this whole business journey and will serve you forever?
So losses. So I come from the hip hop world. So when you lose, they say you took an L.
Yeah, you took an L. Yeah.
But for me, now I've recalibrated that into my mind to be like L stands for lesson. There are no losses, right? So there's one fancy boutique that we ended up in, right? And we were trying to call and do whatever, but it wasn't quite working out.
Yeah.
So one day we were in the area, we decided, listen, let's just walk in there. One of two things is gonna happen. They're gonna say, yeah, we like you. you can be part of the shop. Or two, they're gonna be like, no, we're not, because this is the problem and this is the problem. So I was gonna learn at least what I need to get better at.
Yeah.
So shooting that shot, whichever way it went, whether they said yes or no, it was gonna be a lesson for me. It was gonna be of value. Some learning to, we are learning to
accept losses as lessons.
redefine.
Your perspective has changed.
Yeah, our perspective and our relationship with what you might call
Results, yeah.
Yeah, really like, so I'm like, yo, fail fast, fail forward.
Yeah.
You know, the faster you fail, the faster you get through your nose, the closer you get to your yes.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a guy we listen to, Jim Rome. He says if you do anything often enough, the ratio will appear. So it may be like 1 in 10. So if I'm sitting here scared of the nose, what am I gonna get to my ratio? You know what I mean? So I'm out here like just like shooting my shots. No. Even you who says no, thank you, because you got me one step closer to my yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We embrace the L's.
Yeah, man. That's a really nice way to look at it, because you know it's the L that deter a lot of people from finishing the journey that they start, because they assume that I won't come across these losses, or I mean, this is been easy for other people, it's gonna be easy for me. And yet it's a different journey for each entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like even if you decide to do the very same thing that another entrepreneur has done.
And look, if you read most these stories about most entrepreneurs, on average go broke 2 to 3 times.
Indeed.
You understand? So it's part of the journey. But if you've got this ego that makes you think that you're on a, like we see a lot in sports, everybody wants to preserve their like never have an L. It's different in sports, but I think in the world of entrepreneurship, that's a myth.
Yeah, you can't like, that's a fabricated strike rate. There's no 0 to 100, you can't makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. What keeps you motivated and amped up?
Well, so like she said, we started off this thing as a side hustle. So we had like 1 or 2 designs we started out with, and then they were popping. 2 became 4, became 8, and we kept growing. And then all of a sudden, there's this like pressure to like, okay, we can't keep doing this. I mean, at first we were just a winter range.
Yeah.
So when winter would roll around again, people would call and say, hey, winter's coming. What do you guys have?
Yeah.
I'm winning. So that expectation you've created, like, is inspiration to keep it going, because it's validation that you're onto something good. Like, things have moved. Like, there's been like probably stamps of approval now. Just this past weekend, we were at
SA Fashion Week.
And now we're in the company of some really talented cats, Bo St. Vuyo, Bo Michael Luke. And for a second, you walk in there and you're confronted with this imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah. Tania was mentioning how you guys felt out of place, like you felt like you didn't belong. Yeah.
So there's nothing that'll fire you up and think, okay, we're here obviously because there's something dope about our stuff. But then you get here and you realize, okay, there's levels to this stuff.
Yeah, yes, there's
okay. There's some people that if I'm honest, I feel like we can take them, right? But then there's some people that were just, I'll say them again, Saint
Foil. Guys, look him up. Look up Saint Foil. He had the most insane
collection.
Yeah.
He's wildly creative, and I think now when you're in those spaces with these people, they keep you sharp. It's like you want to make sure that you can keep up with these guys, if not outdo them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So that fuels the fire. What fuels the fire for you, baby?
Definitely the kids. I mean, listen, these little humans are the most expensive gifts that God could give you.
Yeah.
So they keep me amped up, but also like they like the design process. It's crazy because they keep us shocked because they're like, okay, they're gonna tell us for the kids range whether they wear it or not. Like, so you know, if Jimmy says, no, mom, that's not cool, I'm not wearing that to school, it's like, okay, you're probably not gonna be able to sell it to an 11-year-old then. And so he will like help us and he'll say, change it here, change it there, and then this makes it funky for a child. So definitely the kids, I think also he said we listen to Jim Rohn, we listen to a lot of Jim Rohn, that motivates us a lot. It's I think those two things.
I see. Mental health is important. I don't think we put enough emphasis. Yes, it's a popping, trending thing right now, but still actualizing it, like how to maintain good mental health. How do you guys go about it?
First of all, who says I'm mentally healthy?
I think most entrepreneurs have such unhealthy mentals at some point in time. So I can understand you not being mentally healthy.
No, I say that just joking, but like I mean I've seen a therapist a couple of times. In fact, if my money was a situation I was thinking I'd probably go back for just a touch-up session.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely, especially amongst Black people, it's a thing that I'm glad it's getting more of a spotlight now, and it's becoming more of a thing. We're talking about it. There's this meme. It's Timon Pumbaa's friend, and the meme goes like this: Timon is standing like this, and how depression young to be saying na malenga da soda fridge. So it's like we've got a long way to go.
It is a lot. Like, you know, it goes back to how Black parents assume they did a good job because they provided such things.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's the mental thing that you need to deal with. That's why you must strike a balance. Parents didn't, maybe also they weren't equipped to strike that balance, but we can't say they did a great job. Yes, at providing, yes.
And look,
the other stuff,
in that defense, they come from a different time from us. When they were raised in essentially a wartime.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there are things that they consider stressful, like, hey, no, I haven't seen, let's take your dad for example.
Yeah.
With an army man, MK veteran. So they're gonna come to the house and say, where's Jimmy, where's Samanga? That for them I suppose is real stress. Mm-hmm. Whereas we've got like what they might consider nice life problems, like things like cyberbullying. We're trying to explain to them how cyberbullying is something that can affect you
mentally. You're such a sissy, you're soft.
Yeah.
Why are you soft?
I was gonna say that.
Those are not real problems.
It's like, this is real things.
You know.
That's true. I think.
And so, what or whatever it is, but like it's a real thing. I mean, if the rate of suicide
is
not something that
indicates it's a real thing. Yeah, and it's pretty high with the Black men. It's higher in Black men than
because
anybody else.
We are raised by people who say,
yes,
and that's part of our culture as men. And as friends, like there's probably 2 guys I've ever cried in front of, and I was still thinking, hey Mare, would they think I'm weak? Would they think I'm because I'm sharing an emotion that they are not accustomed to me sharing. Because if I share my joy with them, it's cool, we boys. Yeah. But if I share my sadness, it becomes another story.
It's a different story.
Yeah, you're soft dog. Why are you?
That's insane.
That is crazy.
For me personally, with my personal story, it's like when my father passed away, my brother was driving. My father was in the passenger seat and he had a heart attack and he passed away, right? So for me, it was like, no, this guy needs to get, like, he needs to see a psychologist, so I arranged therapy and everything for him. And the therapist contacted me after the session and said, listen, your brother came in, but he asked if we could do it like we would do it for like a child, where he can just sit here and draw and not have to speak. or anything. And so he didn't say a word to this therapist in the hour that he was there. And when I spoke to him about it, I'm like, dude, why didn't you say something? Like, you're dealing with a lot. And he was like, I'm a man. I'm a Xhosa man. Like, what you do is you go, you deal with it, like you move on. Like, I have to be there for you guys. Imagine now I'm spending 2 hours in therapy instead of comforting you guys. So that idea that a man is not a man if you shed a tear is what actually breaks us.
And that is so crazy, that story, because like what happened was so hectic he could not articulate it. Right?
Decided to draw.
Yeah, it's so heavy he cannot articulate it. And at the same time he's saying, I'm dealing with it. How are you dealing with it if you can't even articulate it?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is you've got a whole bunch of things in the background that we're not dealing with that contribute quietly but slowly to the breakdown of your mental health. And then as will eventually happen, the proverbial dam will burst. Unceremoniously, quite unexpectedly. One day we'll just be drinking, and then a small trigger. Like we enter like four.
No, feel free.
When a sentence starts with enter like fuck, it's all down. And sometimes we'll be triggered by like, maybe we have our beers here, I grabbed yours by mistake.
Yeah.
And that's just the straw that broke the camel's back. But really, there's a whole bunch of things that were undealt with. Yeah. So mental health it's very important. It's very important. That's why I've said to her I said to her a lot because I feel like I've been her protector in this way, where I try to spot. I'm gonna be loyal to some of these people because we go a long way back. But every time we come back from seeing these people who get drained, they made you feel less somehow. You don't feel encouraged. So I'm like, dude, like sometimes that's not where it's at. Sometimes there's some people that I've met and we haven't been friends for long, but the interactions are uplifting.
Yeah.
The uplifting, the honest, and like it's good for our mental health. I don't leave the space thinking like next time he says this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a thing I think is really important, and you have to have to have some kind of plan around how you preserve your mental health.
Yeah, I think you have to be intentional about it though.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very intentional because what we consider, like, especially as Black people, consider mental health only like therapy and things like that, and it isn't. It's even what you listen to, like the music that you listen to, the movies that you watch, what you expose yourself to could cause mental health issues. Like, I've suffered from depression personally, and like, so I'm not in a place where I'm out here, like Boiti does her sniff in public. I'm not out here taking my antidepressants in public. I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely not a person who's shy of saying, listen, yes, I'm happy right now, but I wasn't always this way. I've had really bad days. I've had, really tough times. I had to take a pill in the morning to ensure that, like, I don't want to kill myself 3 or 4 times during this interview. You know what I mean? And that's okay. It doesn't make you, it makes you different, but you shouldn't be isolated because of that, and you shouldn't isolate yourself. So spend time with people that make you feel good.
Exercises, don't forget exercise.
Yes.
Kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be crazy, just a young walk around the
It's
block.
enough. That's true.
A little bit of the vitamin
Yeah.
vitamin D. The baddies have made vitamin D and corrupted that whole thing.
Yeah.
But you need vitamin D from the sun.
Yeah.
From the sun.
And,
Not any other vitamin
From the sun.
Yeah. No, we need to state that. Okay. I feel it's such an important thing to focus on, and some of us mess it up, and that's relationships in business.
Yes.
What is your maintaining of good relationships? How do you go about that, and do you feel how important is it for you in business to maintain good relationships?
It's it's everything. I think at the start of the conversation, we spoke about the whole network thing, and like I said, I've had a tendency to, when I'm just in my depressive modes, to isolate myself, right? And I've always considered myself to be something of a loner. And I think it's okay, it's good to be able to be alone and then think and unpack things when that's required, to stop and reflect. But I'm also making it a conscious habit to just check in. Check in, hey, how are you doing? How are you keeping? Everything good?
Yeah.
I'm not calling you because I need anything, I'm just checking out. Are you good?
Sure.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Cool. And then, so that's just on a very basic level. So I think, yeah, we're trying to do business together, but like, let's not forget the human element of it.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. She's good at it. She's the better one at it.
And maintain the relationships.
Maintain the relationships. Just checking up on it. Like, hey, just saying hi, courtesy call, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm learning from her, trying to do more of that.
And that's the importance of partnership. This relationship in business is what makes business work as well.
Precisely.
The relationships that you have within your establishment, your brand, your company, is also very important, because we seem to think that the people that we work with or that work under us, we don't have to build relationships, strong relationships with them, just as we know. So this person is my partner and they know their responsibilities and we don't take the time to.
So you said work under you. So as far as like an anagram, I suppose it would be that.
Yeah.
But I like to preach this, that it's power with, not power over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we have different like strengths and skills and whatever, and we need the team. You know what I mean? So there's some people, obviously, I like to use team analogies because I'm a big sports fan.
Yeah.
So one of my favorites is like football. Football, there's the striker who will make the headlines because he scored the goal. But then there'll be the guy who does the quiet, ugly, dirty job, like say Amakalele, right? Defensive midfield. Just make sure the defense is protected, the dangers are averted.
Yeah.
That's not what gets a lot of glory, but once he gets an injury and he's not there,
You'll see.
then you'll see.
Yeah.
You see, so even if from the outside it's gonna try to say, hey, this is the start of the show, internally as a team we should respect each other's value.
But I also think in terms of like maintaining relationships, it's really important to understand like what your personal strengths are and to appreciate them in another person, and that's the importance of relationships, right? Understanding that you can't do everything by yourself. So he mentioned his dad has been a great help to us in this journey, but so has his mom. Like his mom is like, she's no designer, but she's got a great eye for fashion, right? And so she's always like, and she gives you the truth, like blunt, you know what I mean? So if she doesn't like something, she doesn't like it, but when she loves it and she gets behind it, she's your cheerleader, she's 100% with it, you know, and that's important. That's an important relationship that you want to maintain, because you know this person's going to give you the truth 100% of the time. There's also like relationships with friends where it's outside of business. These are people that you are able to like, you know, kick off the shoes and have a good time with. That goes back to that mental health thing where it's like they will help build you up in your personal capacity so that in the business capacity you do better, right? And also it's weird, but those relationships, maintaining relationships allows you to get, I mean, it's what, 5 degrees of separation in terms of where you want to get to, right? So ensuring that you have good relationships help you with that.
That's true. Like the connections and the wealth connections that we need to make are with the people, because it's the people that know the other person that you need to know.
Exactly.
Like you say, the degrees of separation, and how I understood that very well was that someone you know knows Oprah and can can get you to sit with Oprah if you
Correct.
work your connections well enough and you understand that. So it's very important to maintain good relationships so that you don't fuck over that person that knows Oprah and then they tell Oprah all your fuck ups. Like, this one is a nonsense person. Yeah. We've touched a little on the good relationships. Speaking of good relationships, and you've told me a little bit of some of the most valued relationships in your lives. Any other people that you didn't mention that are still as valuable to you in your journey and in your business?
Listen, for me, there's so many. Like, I've got this friend that I've had like for ever, right? Precious. Like every time I am at my worst, like she's really that person who can assist me. Like she can get me out of any slump. Like she I don't know what it is. This is just God gave her to me. Really.
Yeah.
She speaks life. Yeah. She's and definitely my mom. I think my mom has like sacrificed so much for us, and I don't think you truly appreciate a parent until you become one. Mm-hmm. But like the struggles of like, listen, when a child is sick for 2 weeks, you may as well be sick because you sleep less than that child because you're always trying to hear, are they still breathing? Are they, So it's I really appreciate my mom. I appreciate the relationship that I have with her. Hasn't always been easy, but we're at a good place now, and that's great. I mean, it's nice being able to say, Mom, I don't like this, I don't appreciate it, and her being able to give me her views on certain things. My brothers, definitely, my brothers are still my pillars of strength. If I'm stranded at 2 o'clock in the morning, any day of the year, Douglas will be there like in a flash to come and assist me. I mean, I'm not saying he will be there, but I'm just saying. Like Douglas is definitely that person. Our relationship, I appreciate our relationship. I think he's taught me a lot. He's helped me. He did say he was my protector with certain things, and I think when it comes to my mental health, he's certainly like, he tries a lot. I'm stubborn sometimes, and
this I know.
Yeah, so I wanna learn the hard way. Where it's like, no, there's no way. I've known this person for like 15 years. Surely they wouldn't do this to me. And so sometimes I learn the hard way, but he's always there to like pick up the pieces, and that's great.
And also speaking of our relationship, I don't know if you know, she's like got like gifts.
Wow, who says that can?
Tanya's gifted, yeah.
So she's like a healer. Yeah. Like she sees dead people. So
she's a mediator.
She's a medium. Yeah. So she can get in touch with the fifth dimension people. And that actually also has been like a big part of the people that guide us, you know what I mean? There's a lot of guidance there.
Yeah.
Shout out to my brother too. He just got engaged this past weekend.
Okay.
The son of who's there's Debbie. There's Debbie.
Yeah, Debbie is one of our tailors from Cape Town. She's brilliant.
She's brilliant.
Susan Lowe, I mean, I think like she's helped us a lot with our journey.
These are important.
These are important
relationships.
Yeah. Yes.
Hamish, let's not forget Hamish.
Yeah.
Hamish is so there are lots of guys that like one day if ever we should win an award, I'm going up there with just a list
of people to thank. Yeah.
To thank because one of two things. It will look like it's just us, and the real deal is like we've got a whole team behind us.
Yeah.
We've got a whole team behind us. There's something else I wanted to say. Oh, and also, a lot of times people make it look like that's like what the tipping point, Malcolm Gladwell calls it the tipping point, where things like really pop off, and then the story might be told like, oh, Lesela was an overnight successful.
Which is not the case.
No. I guess it's like the social media thing. I show you the good sides of it. I don't show you like
the really, really the side that needs to be shown. I think
perhaps we need to do that.
This is part of why I ask these questions, because I don't think they're typically asked questions when you talk about business. And yet business people are human. I am trying to get the human side of things.
And that's important.
Yeah, that is very important, because business are run by humans from top to bottom.
Yeah.
No matter how automated they might be right now, but every part of business is run by people. Even the people that you cater to are people. You talk to them in a certain way. Paying dues. It's very important. And how have you paid your dues in your wealth creation journey?
We pay them quite heavily, to be honest. Sorry. So Lesela was actually we started Lesela about 4 years ago, right? And so how we started was basically in our house. So what we would do, we would have brides, right? And we call them Lesela brides. So you come to the bride, and hopefully you like something on the rail and you can buy it, and that's literally how we did it. And so the one day we had a bride, and we didn't time it very well because the bride was 4 or 5 days before payday, right?
Yeah.
So everybody who came took an outfit or two and whatever, and was we'll pay you on payday.
Yeah.
And how we would run Lesela would be, should we pay rent or should we buy stock? Right? Should we get stuff to get stock?
This is how most of us run you have to juggle.
So sometimes we'd flip a coin and be okay, we're getting stuff, we're getting ready, okay, so we'll have a bride and then we'll pay rent from the stuff. And Jesus, 1 month, about 15 people took stuff and 2 of them paid.
Which then leads into the rent issue.
So then that obviously rent, electricity, everything else doesn't get paid, right? But then you learn your lessons there, where it's my father used to say this to me when I was a kid, and I appreciate it now as an adult. Don't ever borrow money to a friend that you're not okay writing off. Because if you're not okay writing off the money, you're gonna have to write off the friendship. Right? And he used to say that to me a lot. And I never quite understood what he meant until those certain points in my life. Because you could either fight for the money for these garments, right?
Which tarnishes the relationship.
Because now they start avoiding your calls. Even when I'm calling to check in, you think I'm calling about my money.
Yeah.
And so now we can't have a conversation, So that I've learned that now, where it's appreciate the fact that there's business and there's friends, and those are separate.
Two entities.
Yeah, two separate entities. Yeah. And also loans, listen, you're not a loan shark. You're a clothing company, you're a designer, so you don't vet people, so try not to give up loans. Try not to give things on credit. And
that's sorry to interrupt you. That paying dues story, how it culminated. It was one cold day, we were coming home with the children, it's raining, it's cold, and we're trying to
unlock the door.
I'm maybe I can't see. Give her the keys, see if she can do it. And what had happened was that they changed the locks because rent was late. Yeah, so that's one of the paying dues stories. Also, when we got funding to get back up this year, we went to Turkey. And at the time, South Africa had one of the special strains of COVID that everybody was scared of. So when we got there, we had to isolate for 10 days. So you get there, and they put you in this place that is it's like a hostel, dorm. And the food was like prison food. Yeah, so...
Basically
10 days. 10 days you couldn't leave the room. So
you can't leave your room, you can't...
Jeez.
Yeah. So you've got a room, you've got a bathroom, and if you wanted a kettle, you had to buy one. And it was 50... So it basically worked out to about 150 rand, let's say. But you're renting it for that period, right? So you're renting the kettle. I mean, what are you going to do with the kettle when you come back?
Yeah, you can't put it in, you can't live with it, for sure.
So it's so if there's no microwave, there's nothing, right? So you're in that place for 10 days, and it's So when we got there initially, the first 2 days, he was miserable. I was just like, listen, this is a part of the journey. This is something we can tell our kids one day. Like we isolated for 10 days to get the quality items that we wanted. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And there was a lot of traveling involved in the beginning. We've got like 18-month-old baby. Time baby was like about 1. Before she turned 1, every time we leave, she would cry. Just melt down. Just the top part of the whole thing. She didn't get into the suitcase because she even knew the cues that this means that.
This means
Yeah.
So she'd get into the suitcase and like basically like you guys are like, no, oh, I'm coming with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know. And so there's been lots of I think we've paid our dues and are continuing to
pay the dues.
dues.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of the process, but yeah.
Books are very important. You talked about how books are important to you and just how they shape our understanding, our perspective, and also give good influence. What are some of those books that have influenced your life and shaped your perspective?
Geez, there's a couple. How to Win Friends and Influence People is one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have some really good ideas in there. But if I was to isolate one single book that I think has had one of the biggest impacts on my life, it's one called Conversations. It's a series of books.
Conversations with God.
Conversations with God.
I love that.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, no.
And now I just someone just gave me the new version.
Addition to it, yeah.
But like that whole thing just changed how I see.
yeah.
No, it opens up your mind for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like so, I feel like it's made me more conscious of like God when he or she or they or it speaks to me. You know what I mean? Like because anyway, that's a long-winded answer. That's but we also listen to a lot of like motivational
Talks like TED Talks and
like
general.
TikToks. Yeah. There's an E.T. Derek Thomas. They drop a lot of nuggets in there. One of my favorites that Jim Rohn talks about is the parable of the sower. He said the sower just kept on sowing. The sower knew that he had good seed, and he just kept on sowing. Some landed on shallow ground, where it landed, but it was like those stones that they so it couldn't quite root itself. Some got it was landed on a hot day, and it just withered away. It started to grow a little bit, but like it was so hot, it withered away. And then some got eaten by the birds. And now you've got options when they get eaten by the birds. You can chase after the birds. His birds, the birds is an analogy for like bad people, people like haters. It's like you cannot chase the birds and say, I'm not showing this bird, I'm not tearing a new page. But then when you do that, you leave the fields. You should be sowing. Right? But the parable, the sower kept on sowing until eventually it landed on fertile ground. And then the wonderful bush that was made to grow grew. And it's a lesson on persistence. Just keep trying. If you trust in what you've got, just keep pushing, keep sowing.
You know what's weird? That story is actually from the Bible.
It is?
Yeah, he does say about it
Yeah,
in the Bible.
yeah, because I was actually going to say like I read a lot of like romance novels and stuff, but like I really when I read and then but when I had to go through my spiritual journey of answering my calling, one of the things that they force you to do is to read the Bible, right? And you reading it from you're not now a child in Sunday school or whatever. You reading it as a person who meditates and who spends time in their own thoughts, right? So reading it in that space is so different. So when you hear these stories, you actually appreciate the lessons that are taught. And I think I'm not like preaching for everybody to be born again or Christian or whatever, but the Bible has some incredible stories and lessons if
I think part of the reason why it's been such an instrumental book for the past 2,000 years is precisely because of that. The problem becomes with our decoding of the message, or the people that decode the message for us. Sometimes they have ulterior motives. Sometimes they've got a propaganda agenda that they're pushing. Yeah. So like the truth and the principles that the Bible teaches, we cannot escape from. They are the truth, but how people put them out there,
or how you interpret it.
Exactly.
This is one of my most consistent things that I pray for when I do pray is discernment, good judgment.
Yeah.
Lord, help me see it as it is, not how I want to see it, not through my foggy lens. Help me see it as it is. Let me get the actual point, not like, you know what I mean?
Because how you receive, you can only receive things from a place like where you are in your life, right? So if I tell you like you're the greatest poet that I've ever met, right? You're not going to receive that if that's not what you believe about yourself. So a lot of times how we receive things is from a place where we are. And my dad used to even teach us in terms of the Bible that, listen guys, it was written by a person about their experience. So what you're meant to take from it is like the lesson, and not necessarily that the Bible isn't it's meant to be a guide. It isn't like a rule book on how you're meant to live, right? Like times have changed. We're not living like Jesus was preaching in church when he was 12, right? Nobody expects you to do that. What we're saying is just like understand that at that age, your child could probably know what they want to do for the rest of their lives, and that's okay.
Exactly. And there's no this in order to pursue your goals, your passion.
Exactly.
The rules have changed.
Rules have definitely changed.
The kids, the kids are the ones that are like the biggest stars on TikTok and all of this stuff.
And there's billionaires. Young kids selling cookie company that's a billionaire out there.
Yeah, hey man, I get this thing that our kids watch. Little baby watches that. We do Baby Shark.
Yeah.
It's got 9 billion views.
And it's like little kids doing these little songs. And it's like, so the rules have changed. Am I allowed to ask the interviewer a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's.
Yeah. So the books.
Sure.
Which books have been most influential for you?
There's this book, right? You've mentioned some of my favorite books, like Conversations with God. Donald Walsh just did magic with that contribution. For me, it was really beautiful. Celestial Prophecy is a book that just captivated me for the longest time. And then there's Celestial. James Redford. Yeah, James Redford. It's a story about how he discovers all these insights that tell you about how to live life and the things that we need to be doing. But it is something that you will find is a recurring subject within the Conversations with God. You will relate to it a lot.
Yeah.
There's that. Recently I listened to I don't read much. I love audiobooks. That's my thing. I'm an audiovisual person, so knowledge comes in easier when I hear it. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. One of my favorite is one that was released last year, if I'm not mistaken. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart talks about how he got to where he is in life. I forget the title of the book.
But
it's a really dope read. I mean, I love motivational stuff, so when I listen to that, it really gets you. And not just motivational, but the practical side of things. How he really understanding that eating Cheetos while you say you've got a goal to be healthier is not how you. It's not how you go about it. So he attends to certain subjects as well. And then I forget this lady's name. She's an Indian lady from America, if I'm not mistaken. But the name of her book is How to Be a Boss. But boss, BAWSE. how to be a boss. So that also just tells you really practically, not the wishy-washy when you want to you must really dream about it, you must be about it. Practically do it. Practically do it. And then those are the books that I've really enjoyed. The Alchemist as well. Paulo Coelho, that just someone just made it make more sense to me, and the story is really about going deep, finding, because the treasures that you seek are far closer than you believe they are.
Correct.
You could be sleeping right on that treasure and literally sleeping because he was sleeping on that thing in that book. So yeah.
Speaking of sleeping, I forgot one book that I'd like to recommend. It's the 5 a.m. Club.
5 a.m. Club. Yeah.
5 a.m. Club is also a powerful one in terms of starting early. Your perception of time. If you start early every day, you've got
loads of time,
extra time. So if cumulatively, if I'm waking up at 5 versus the guy was waking up at 7,
it's got 2 hours ahead of it.
In 5 days, I've got 10 hours ahead. And if you can expand that over 3 weeks.
I this is the disconnect. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that, or let me say dreamers, to be fair, because they still haven't come to the realization of the reality of things. Where you assume that because you're running your business, you can wake up at 10. That makes no sense. Or because you're running a business, you can take it easy.
No, I had a conversation. We had this conversation. Remember, last week we were just having this conversation, and it's like we were saying. The issue with that is you need to decide whether then you're an employer or an employee, and you need to be honest with yourself. Because if you need a job to dictate to you what time to wake up and how seriously you take yourself, then you're not meant to lead yourself, right? And I don't say that in a disrespectful manner.
No, it's factual.
Just think about it. If you need an AXA or Standard Bank or whatever to report to be waking up at 5 so you can get to work at 8, then that's probably where you will work best, right? Because if you wake up at 10 and you have lunch at 1, you don't have much left after lunch. Most people's energy levels drop. So even the people that you're interacting with
won't give you the best selves.
Best selves, right? So even if you're fired up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, dude, if you call me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you want to talk about things we're supposed to do at 8 in the morning, listen, you're not going to get the best of me. I'm going to probably still do it and I'll still assist you, but it's definitely not going to be what Tanya would have delivered at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you have to have those conversations with yourself if you're that type. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to work harder for yourself.
The cold hard truth is most people are willing to work harder for other people than they are for themselves.
That is
you understand? True. So, if a guy's working in a corporate space and there's such and such deadline, people might forget to pick up their kids from school. Hey, come home. You haven't spoken to or had sex with the wife for so long because you have to get this day.
That's so funny.
Okay? Yeah. But then you not do the same thing for yourself. That means you have to really look deep. Is this for me?
Yeah. Even that thing is entrepreneurs are okay. You know, you can call an entrepreneur and be listen, are you available next week? I want somebody to go with me to Mozambique for a week or whatever. And they'll be yeah, no, sure, I'm available. And clearly it means you haven't booked anything in your diary, right? And
you're not about your business.
Yeah. So you need to really, the perks of it are that you can work from anywhere, but if you can take 4 holidays in a month, understand that you're not working as hard for yourself as you would for a boss.
And Michael Jordan said one of the most inspirational things. He said one of the reasons he reckons he was one of the best is because nobody could push him harder than he could. Yeah. So even the coaches, the coaches were pushing him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the coaches had to slow him down and be yo,
relax, bro.
You're a best player, don't overexert yourself, whatever. But
so be that guy.
Yeah, so be that guy, there's something to learn there. Like, be able to be the one who can push you the hardest.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters from Ethiopia come here and they do something different business-wise. Why don't we learn
from it?
And beat them at their own game?
Don't get mad, learn from it.
Yeah, and you see where, like, I want to learn a lot from China, because where China is where a lot of African countries find themselves. Or where China was 70, 30 years ago is where a lot of South African countries find themselves, where we need to, like China, learn as much as possible from the outside world, but and with the hopes to implement it and make it and do it better.
Yeah.
Do it better for ourselves. Do it the South African way, but that being the best way to do it, to do that particular thing. So anyway, let's get into that last few questions. What are your top favorite African or local brands?
There's an app called Heritage by a good friend of ours, Soki. What it is like, it's like, think about it like Uber for hair. Hairdressers, right? So I want to do this. I get on the app and see who's available, closest to me, boom, and then they come to the crib, do that. I think it's very innovative.
It is quite innovative. I love the sound of that.
And I love the name.
Heritage. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's brilliant.
What else you got?
Same for
I was gonna say same for man.
Yeah.
I was totally blown away.
By his designs. Amazing. And you know the weird thing is, it's like he's one of those designers that actually don't know how good they are. So when
so
when you give him the compliments and stuff, he's like, really, and you know, but he's amazing. Like, you should check him out. He's absolutely incredible.
Remember where you heard it first.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Something great.
Okay, cool stuff. What's your relationship with money? What's your relationship with money, Tania?
Kanye Bao has this thing. Like he used to listen to it a lot. Where I love money. Money loves me. Money follows me. I used to listen to that a lot. Because I think it's important to understand that money is an important part of life. Like, obviously we're not doing this thing like as an NGO, like we want to make money. I don't think I have a great relationship with money in terms of budgeting. I don't necessarily always stick to the budget, so that's one of my weaknesses. But I do have a great appreciation for it.
Great.
Also money, I think, I also appreciate this. It's not the end goal. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tool. So it's going to facilitate what we're trying to, whatever you're trying to.
So your relationship with money is a tool.
This is a tool, yeah. It's a tool, yeah. So, I mean, like, so, let me talk about like what Lesela is, right? What we're trying to do. The perfect future that we see.
Yes.
Is because you create garments that are like modern garments, but that always have like a strong representation of like some other culture. So though I'm Lesotho and she's Xhosa, we're not just bound to that. We think more Pan-African view.
Yeah.
So we want that to be an everyday thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that we don't have to have this one day called Heritage Day where we get to wear.
Celebrate our heritage.
Yeah. What else? What is every other day here in Africa? We should be like rocking our stuff every day. But there's going to be a little bit of money required to further boost the marketing and upscale. You know what I mean? And yeah. So the money is. It's a necessary part of the thing, but it's not the end goal. It's not the end goal.
I feel you. Music quotes, music and quotes, or verses that inspire you. Whether it's from the Bible, whether it's from the gospel song, whether it's from your favorite hip hop track, Otsuankai or and get it. Like, what are some of those?
You know, Jim Rohn says, we're talking about this in the car, like he says, we all have to suffer one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And then he says, discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons.
Oh, yeah. It does weigh tons.
It does.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, my next tattoo, how much that slaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also like, there's this quote where we are all free to make decisions, but we're not free from the consequences of those decisions.
Ooh, another one that I love from Jim Rohn about the set of the sail. He speaks about the same wind blows on us all, but it's how you set the sail that determines your destination 5 years, 2 years, or whatever the period is from now.
Yeah.
So the point he's really trying to make it's about your philosophy and your outlook.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're all went through COVID, right? And COVID did the most. It did the most.
Yeah.
But some people, funny enough, thrived in this COVID thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a matter of that set of their sail.
Yeah.
They didn't use it to say, hey,
The world is ending.
the world is ending.
Yeah, I need to roll all in now and just come to an end.
So how do I maneuver in this new space? And some people find, hey, I can work from home. Hey, I'm not sitting overheads, I don't have to pay rent there. And so we can, so that's one of my favorite quotes, the set of the sail. And there's one we play on the way here. Turbulence is the price you pay for flying high.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I love that. I'm gonna keep that. Anyone who knows me knows I love myself some private jets. So turbulence, I'm cool with turbulence. My private jet is used to that. Can get shaky but we fly.
Are we flying?
Yeah, can get shaky but we fly. What is your definition of wealth?
Well, Elon Musk isn't doing too bad.
That's a good definition indeed. I saw that like look he's triple times what Warren Buffett is, right?
Yeah.
And our GDP is nothing compared to what Elon Musk has. So he's richer than himself.
No, he is. I mean, the trillion he has is what South Africa needs as a bailout.
Shit. Listen to that.
You know, but he's got it in dollars.
Yeah.
We need it in rands.
Yikes.
Okay, but I mean, I think my definition of wealth is definitely when you have money that sustains itself and 2 or 3 generations are set.
Yeah, where you're no longer working for the money.
Yeah.
Working for you. Yeah.
And back to the tool issue now. So like whatever ideas, and he's an ideas guy, you know, that's
Elon Musk. Yeah.
So it's good that the money, he's got the money, because he's got some good ideas.
Yeah.
How to make this planet greener and all sorts of other initiatives he has. But like, he's worthy to the point where he has a vision that Zach is ready to implement.
Yeah.
So that's wealth.
That is
Wealth is when you've got that power to implement.
from thought right away to manifestation.
To manifestation. And just getting out of the cotton field, man. I don't think we're here just to work, enslave, pay rent, rinse, repeat. No. We've got more to do.
It's definitely, we need to free our working time for better things. To like, the money needs to make itself. Then we need to be living.
Yeah. See, so that's why even in terms like, you know, like people that are, which is most people that are employed, and they're not working, they call it in my free time. And I'm like, yo,
That ain't free.
that ain't free. That ain't free, Holmes. That ain't free. Stop talking like that.
Yeah.
That time is free, because that's the time.
You could be pursuing other things.
Pursuing whatever your side hustle is. And God bless your side hustle then overtakes
Your main hustle, your 9 to 5,
Your 9 to 5, then you can jump out the cotton field and be about your purpose.
Yeah, and I just hope when you do jump out your cotton field, you realize that this has become now a 5 to 9. Now there's less hours of you to have free, because like we talked about earlier, certain entrepreneurs coming to this business assuming that it's about being free, having free time, being able to call your own shots. True, you call your own shots, but you need to be calling shots for other people.
Correct. Yeah.
So
So maybe the freedom comes in. You can move around your working hours.
Yes. It's flexible.
It's flexible, but the time's still gotta be.
Yeah, you still gotta
work,
put in the work.
Still gotta be put in.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
Sure, man. By the way, I'm dressed by Lesela. How connected in life? What's up? Pimping.
But don't be that guy who just says I'm dressed by Lesela. Tell people where they can get Lesela.
Oh, like you are here, please.
Yeah. So you can follow us on Insta at Lesela Fashion. Our store, our online store is Lesela.co.za.
Sure.
And we're in a couple of boutiques. Currently, we're at House of Nala, but there's a few more on the way.
House of Nala is at the Leonardo Hotel.
Okay.
On the 3rd floor. It's a boutique there, so if you want to go check out our stuff, we're also there.
Oh, please go and check it out. If you rata what you're seeing, once you get to their social medias, their website, just do the right thing and get it while it's still nice and affordable. Because these people are going to America.
It's not a joke.
And it's not a joke, I'm saying, because we are happy about the success. But it's seriously gonna. Yeah. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yes.
So get it while it's still today's price. Because yesterday, no. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for gracing me with your presence.
Brother, thank you so much for having us, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
An enjoyable chat.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you for your wealth of knowledge. Thank you for your wealth of just presence and beauty. The creations that you're creating will not just only dress and make us look cool, but inspire other children to believe in themselves. Yeah, and start something that they thought was just this is crazy. I mean, but you guys did it.
Yeah.
So it means it's doable.
It is.
So Halilebo for that.
Thank you.
For pursuing your own goals, you are helping others pursue theirs. Thank you very much. And that's what we call a rap. And as they say, kokasiaka, soikreta. And I'd like to add to that, soikreta ipelenya in prepared. Thank you.